Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Matt, Senior Client Success Manager at White House Custom Color, and before we start chatting with Anya Day, I just want to make a few announcements. So if you haven't subscribed to our WHCC YouTube, make sure and hit that subscribe button so you get notified of all the cool events like this one that we're doing today that are coming up. Follow along on Instagram at WHCC Pro, and for all of your product details and questions, make sure and check out WHCC.com. So thank you so much for flying in yesterday and hanging with us all day today, Anya.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. It's an honor. I am beyond thrilled. Like my cheeks hurt from smiling so much. It's really cool. Thank you.
I can already tell, from talking to you on our interview for the content for today, and then just a little time that you've been here with us so far, a couple hours, you have nothing short of a ball of energy, like constantly.
Not constantly, but I do identify as more of an energetic, fun person.
Absolutely.
So that's me at my core.
Yes, absolutely. So before we get into talking about our details and our content for today, can you tell everybody that's following along a little bit about yourself, where you're from, the studio model, that kind of stuff?
Sure. I'm originally born in Moscow, Russia. I moved here as a little girl when I was 12 years old. Went to art school for painting and drawing and found the love of photography. I concentrated in photography. Back in 2008, when the market crashed, I didn't really have any photography jobs at that point, but decided to really go fully for photography. I started as a wedding photographer. I shot weddings for about 10 years. And then about, when was this, 2018, when I was pregnant with my second daughter, I decided to dive full-time boudoir. The reason for that is because weekends were, primarily for my kids. I didn't want to kind of, miss out on that. And boudoir was something that was really more fulfilling for me. I kind of lost the joy for weddings. Yeah. And they were more profitable for me, and just enjoying it so much more. I have a studio back in New Jersey, and we're actually moving soon. Ooh. In about a month. I
didn't know that.
I know, it's kind of news to everybody. We're moving. We're moving. I'm going to be announcing that. We're not moving far. We're only moving 10 minutes away from our current studio into a little bit of a bigger studio.
Great.
And now I'm here.
Absolutely. And you can definitely see the image work behind us on the wall today. Gorgeous. And I love how your body of work, you can tell. It has your style, it has the light, it has the tone, which I think is very, very important in brand identity.
Thank you.
And I'm assuming that is not by accident.
Yes, it's definitely not by accident. I mean, it's been years in the works. I think the lighting, a huge person that was a big influence in my life was Cliff Mountner. Mm-hmm. I did a workshop with him way back in the day, in the beginning of my wedding photography career, and that was a big influence, just to see light in a completely different way. But the rest of it, I think, also comes from social documentary. That was my concentration in college, social documentary photography, back in the day when we used to shoot film.
Yep. Back in those days.
Back in those days, right? And the reason why I mentioned social documentary, because it really made me focus on the person that I'm photographing, not so much on the stuff around them. So in my boudoir photography, my whole idea is to really focus on the woman that's in front of me, to bring out her essence, to bring out her beauty, to really tell who she is with that photograph. So it's not about the stuff, the fluff, the outfit. Sure, that adds to the elements, but I'm really focusing on the woman that's in front of me that I'm photographing.
Yeah, I love that. And that is an excellent segue into the first section that we're going to talk about today. So we're going to kind of split this down into two different parts. And when you and I were talking about content for today, you had two really strong options, and we're going to use them both. Even though they're quite a bit different, they obviously relate into the business. So we're going to start with the communication side and how you're consistently elevating your brand voice. So let's begin our journey there. So when you're talking about your brand leading to the image and your personality and social media and all that stuff, how are you how would you describe your consistent brand voice, and how are you able to achieve that? Now, I know that's a massive question, but if we can just skip a rock across the top of kind of your theory on that, I think that'd be awesome.
I would say that, as I mentioned, in terms of focusing on simplicity, focusing on the essence, and that goes into brand voice of simple, elegant, timeless, classic, and really focusing on the client that's in front of me. It's, yes, photographs are important, but the experience is almost more important in my point of view. Photographs is just something for her to remember the experience that she had, even though she would come to me for like, oh, I want these pictures. I'm like, yeah, but you actually want the experience, or I'm going to sell you the experience. And client communication comes kind of as a very important thing within that brand identity, because connecting to the client on a deeper level, understanding their vision, even if they don't really know what it is that they want, asking really important questions and diving deeper to really kind of pull it out of them, for them to understand what is the deeper meaning of their need for these photographs.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, I'm sure it's been your experience as well, from the photographers that I talk to, and even in my own personal life, we live in an experiential society now. You know, like, there's always going to be different options for different things, different price points, all the things. But especially since 2020, you know, where we had those things restricted, we want to go out and enjoy that. A little bit louder for the people in the back, what you said about, you know, the photographs are important, but the experience of it and the communications leading up to it and working with you are very, 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 very important. And those things are intricately tied together.
Yes.
There is no separation of the beautiful wall art from the experience. It is all one thing.
Yes.
So one of the favorite things that we talked about when we were discussing things via Zoom was how you mirror your clients.
Yes.
And I know a little bit about, you know, how you continually challenge yourself and how you're learning along the way. But let's talk about that mirroring.
Yes.
Because you're the first person that I've talked to that has specifically called that out. I do it all the time. My girlfriend Kelly does it all the time in her job. We talk about it. How do you mirror your clients?
Yes, that is a really great point that you brought up. Thank you for that question. So I think as photographers, we, especially when we're posing our clients, we tell them, hey, you're just going to mirror me. So we are already instinctively great at that. But sometimes we kind of forget to mirror them, especially before the photo shoot. I think that's such an important element of client communications, for us to mirror our clients. If we're, let's say, speaking to them over a Zoom call, that's a great opportunity, or whenever we're with them in person. By mirroring, we are able to connect with our clients on such a deeper level. And mirroring, it's not just gestures, it's the tone of voice, it's the posture. Like, for example, you're sitting there like this, so I might just sit there like this. You're leaning in.
If I do this.
If I do this, maybe I'll kind of do this. It doesn't have to be exactly specific.
If I stick my finger in my ear, will you do that?
I might. And sometimes, you know, as humans, we kind of naturally do that anyway. But if you're a little bit more aware of it, you can connect with that person on a much deeper level. There's also a way to mirror people on the phone. Like, if, let's say, you're not doing your consults over Zoom, which you should be. It is so much better. Let's say you're on the phone with somebody and you hear that they're talking really fast and they're really excited. You're not going to be like, yes, okay, I'm going to tell. No, you need to pick up that tone of voice and that energy too. And if they're a little bit slow or a little bit quiet, you need to be able to slow yourself down and speak with the same tone and same pauses, because it will just make them connect with you on a much deeper level.
Right. So one other thing that you have not mentioned yet that you did on our call, so I'm just going to ask you the question even though I know the answer. Do you take words
Aha. Yes.
And
Thank
repeat
you.
them.
Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. Also, on a consultation call, Zoom, whatever meeting, as you're asking questions with your clients, you're going to sit and listen and pay attention to the words that they describe their experience as. What do they want from their session? Because when you are done listening to them, now it's your job to, kind of sell yourself to them. Use the same words to sell the experience, to tell them about the experience that they're gonna get from you with the exact same words that they just said to you. Because let's say they say, I really want this, let's say I wanna feel really confident for this boudoir session, or I wanna feel like a, badass, right? So then you're gonna say, you know what, we're gonna do this session and we're gonna make you look like a badass, because you want to repeat those same words to them. And then it's gonna sound like, she knows what I want.
Right.
She knows exactly what I need. Oh, that's, her idea to give that back to me. And then again, they're gonna connect on a deeper level.
Yeah, and when you have that, not only in photography, but in your life in general, when you get onto that wavelength with somebody, there is hours of conversation that doesn't need to happen.
Yes.
And there's a stress relief that just naturally comes when you're just communicating and you feel like that person truly gets you.
Yes.
So interesting little side note, and you don't even know this, everybody in the room does, but the room that we're sitting in right now was, at one point, we called it our teleprompt room. And I can remember one of our owners telling me one time, he's like, it's very important to be able to see people's body language when we're having discussions. And you mentioned a couple minutes ago, if you're not doing your consultations via Zoom, you need to be doing them. And I 100% agree. Like, every meeting that I do now, it's via Zoom unless I absolutely have to be on the phone, because it's just better to connect, even if it is just on a screen, because you get to see the body language, you get to see the facial expressions, you get to bring that out. Like, talking to you today and having you here for the last couple of hours, you're so energetic, you're so happy, and people mirror that back in you. I was watching them do it, which is fantastic. Another thing that you did kind of briefly touch on, I want to make sure everybody understands the quantity of questions that you're asking during these. Now, you said you do a lot of question and answer during these Zoom calls. Like, how long does one of those consultations last for you, where you're learning about your client?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be long. 15 minutes to 30 minutes tops.
Okay. So it's not 5 minutes, though.
It's
That's
not
fairly
5
long.
minutes. I'd say 15 minutes. For consultation, because I need to really get to know them. And then I really need to explain the entire process, set their expectations. What are they going to get from it? How are they going to feel? And start to finish, the whole process, even album production, how does that process, how long does that take? Really need to tell them all the details of what it goes. It's not just like, how much is it? Here's my price sheet.
Right.
I hope you call me and book me.
Exactly.
No, that's never going to happen.
Right.
So if you're not doing these Zoom consultations, you have to, because you have to get to know your clients. You have to give them the experience, tell them all about yourself, your brand, how they're going to feel, what they're going to come out of this session from, or it doesn't have to be a session, wedding. What are you going to do for them? It's about service.
Them.
It's about them.
Yes.
Like, how can you make their day better? What are they going to gain from it? How can you serve them better?
Yeah, exactly. So within this, you have a little friend at your studio that you talk to a lot. Her name is Nora.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we have to talk about Nora and how Nora comes into this conversation and how you utilize her to help you through this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Nora is my AI. It's my Chat GPT, and I named her Nora because she deserved a name, because I'm friends with her and we talk all the time. No, it's my Chat GPT, and I've been using it, I don't even know, for a year and a half or so. As soon as AI Chat GPT came out, I hopped on the wagon, I took a little course just to understand how to really communicate with this AI, and so far it's been a little while, and I'm telling her I know. Yeah, I'm treating it like a friend.
Yes.
I'm telling her a lot of information about my business, about who I am, what I do, and I'll bring this up. I know I mentioned this on our Zoom call. When we were going to hop on this Zoom call, I'm like, okay, Nora, I have a call with Matt. I need to come up with some talking points for our interview. Based on all the knowledge that you know about me and my business and everything that I know and how awesome I am, tell me what 3 top talking points that I can share with Matt, but give me at least 10 options so I can choose. A couple of seconds later, she spits it out. I'm like, okay, I love this one, this one, this one. Sent them over to Matt. We hop on a Zoom call. And before the Zoom call, I'm like, okay, Nora, I'm going to talk about these 3 points. Now give me detailed talking points for each of these, and she spit them out. Of course, it's all the information I know because she knows me because we've been talking for a little while. So that's Nora.
I love that. And you're not afraid of AI.
No.
You are using that as a tool to help you elevate your brand, your communication, your business, like all the things that everybody says they want to do all the time. Yeah, for sure. So you've been working with Nora for like a year and a half. How long did it take you when you've been feeding that information in for AI to really grasp what you felt was a consistent, correct response to you, or for the most part?
Yes, a great question. So I would say, I don't know exactly how long, but I just know that besides talking to her about my business, because I am writing client communications or like client emails, or I am updating my website, or I'm creating a course that I'm teaching photographers. I'm constantly, feeding her information, so she has gathered as much as I possibly know about myself or my business throughout this period of time. So it's not just how long, it's how much information I've been feeding it. And because I know I gave it a lot, because there's multiple projects that I've been working on, like client emails or Instagram hashtags or whatever it may be, she knows a lot about me or my business. Yeah.
It's a little scary at the same time.
It is a little scary.
But it's cool.
But
I love that you're using her.
I mean, from what I've heard, businesses that are not using AI are going to be out of business in the next 5 years. We have to embrace the new technology, because if, you got to grow with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you say you're not going to do it, it's not like the technology is going to stop just because you don't want to. So, yeah. So how are you personally working? If we leave kind of Nora out of this, how do you work, or who have been your resources over the years for your own communication skills?
Tony Robbins.
Yeah?
Tony Robbins is a huge one. I am a big fan. I know a lot of people say, oh, she drank the Kool-Aid. Yes, I have drank the Kool-Aid, and it's delicious, and it's great. It's helped me grow as a person, as a business owner, as a friend, as a wife, as a human. And in communications, and I just finished what they called Leadership Academy, and there was some brilliant speakers there. One of the, I forgot his name, but he was teaching us how to use our voice, posture, to speak, and there was another woman who was talking about body language and gestures and what certain poses mean and how we should use these things. These are important little things to learn, to better ourselves, to communicate better, to be more presentable and things like that.
Absolutely. In confidence in a human being is an attractive thing. It's attractive for business, personal side, all the things, to be confident, to speak confident, to be able to get your thoughts out.
Yes.
It's an attractive thing to do, and I love that you speak so strong and eloquently, and you're very energetic and animated. Like that's an attractive thing, in all aspects. So,
thank you.
You mentioned 4 words on our call, and I wanted to specifically call these out and just kind of get your reaction feedback to them. And I love all these: grace, empathy, professionalism, and warmth. So I'm assuming that when we were talking on our call that you were referring to the business side of things, but now meeting you in person, you absolutely embody those 4 things. So how are you are you taking those and making that a part of your business world every day?
Thank you. Thank you. How am I taking these? They are important words. Grace is something I think I get from my mother. Mom, if you're watching, hi. I don't know if you are, but maybe
she said she was going to give you a call.
Yes, I don't know. I get grace from my mom. And grace is something that I am trying my best to teach my clients, specifically in boudoir photography, because women, we kind of, I think men do it too. We stand in front of the mirror. We're so negative. Like, our brains are taught to go to the negative all the time with life in general, but for women specifically with their body image. So I am teaching grace and warmth for our own selves, for our own persona. Like, when we're looking at the images that have very specific rules, you're not allowed to say, I don't like. You can either say, I love this image or I like this image, using it positive language when we're speaking to ourselves, even if it's just for this next 10 minutes. I always tell them, so giving yourself grace, being warm. So that's on those two words. Professionalism, of course, it's just how we hold ourselves in life and business.
And accountable.
Yeah. And what was the fourth one?
So empathy.
Empathy is a really good one. Being empathetic, being wholehearted, really listening, really connecting with the client, appreciating their world, understanding their world, connecting to that. Because I said that it's not just pictures, and the clients have to trust you. They have to open up. It's like they are trusting you with their most precious memories, and it's such an important job. It's not just a paycheck. You make a really impactful, moment in these people's lives. It's important. So you have to be empathetic.
Absolutely. And it shows, definitely. And just looking at the images, I don't know any of these women that are on the wall, but I guarantee that you had that relationship with them, that it started with you clearly communicating at the beginning, them following your body language and mirroring you and you mirroring them, and then you end up with a beautiful product at the end. So before we start talking about crafting an album, I do want to hit on something a little bit more businessy before we shift over.
Let's go.
So when you first start talking to a client, and we've been talking about communication, how do you, I suppose the term would be maybe pre-qualify, or how do you make sure that this person that you're talking to, on Zoom, or if you're emailing, or whatever the communication method is to begin with, fits your model, and that somebody that you feel is going to be a good person to work with for you?
Great question. So, it's not always the pre-qualified person. Like, the first pre-qualifying question is I send them an email with my starting price. If that works for them, they go for me. But I also think people who reach out to me, they're not just going to here's a random photographer, click, let me get in touch with her.
Right. There's going to be research.
There's going to be some research. So they see the brand. I have videos. Videos are also another super important thing besides Zoom that every business needs to be having on their website, on their Instagram, video messages, everything with video.
Right.
So they see me, they hear me, they connect with me. So when they get on a Zoom, they already know me a little bit. And then during that Zoom call, that's what pre-qualifies the client. We either connect or we don't. I'm not for everybody. Some people, as best of a job as I can do to connect with you and explain how amazing this experience is going to be, maybe I'm out of your budget and it's just not meant to be, and that's okay. I'm not for everyone. But the people that I do end up working with, we're like best friends when we meet.
I can imagine. and that just grows over the time.
It does. It's, how many women tell me they've never been more comfortable naked in front of a stranger than with me, which is kind of a funny compliment, but it just happens. It's that's how those conversations happen. That's why it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And to highlight something that you said, it's okay if it's not a good fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fine. And that, to go back a few minutes in our conversation, comes from confidence. It's you having the confidence and the wherewithal of your own style and your own personality to be like, that's fine. You know, I'm not for you, and that's okay. You know, there's going to be somebody out there that is. So let's shift a little bit here in our discussion.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring this sample album up here in a minute, but you just got to watch one of your albums being created by our amazing albums team out in the lab. Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk about that. But let's start with when you start selling an album, because obviously you love albums.
Yes.
You think they're phenomenal. But when do you actually start selling the client on an album or the idea of an album?
From the first conversation.
Okay.
Some people don't want an album, but we talk about it anyway, and we talk about the importance of albums. So by that first conversation, I mean our consultation Zoom. I tell them about that we offer albums. I show them the samples that I have at my studio. I tell them why they're so beautiful and how they're archival paper, and it's, you know, it's something tangible, something that you can pass on. I always say, you know, imagine when you're, you know, 60 years old or older and you're in your attic, then you dig this up and you pick this book up and you look through the pages and wow, but you're never gonna find that drive or flash drive or CD or whatever. Like, I have so many CDs that I'm trying to put on the cloud right now. I actually broke one of my CD drives. I had to buy another one because it got stuck and one of them actually broke. It was from my trip to Paris, and I'm devastated because those pictures, they're gone. They're gone. I mean, they're up there, but they're gone. Yeah. You know, so a book is something that, you know, you can actually appreciate. And I love how, even when we just came in today, I've never seen this image printed, and I came in and I walked up to him like, oh my God, I could see so much more detail than on my computer. And it's so impressive, and it's alive, and it's just so much more powerful in a printed product. So I sell the book from the first conversation, and I will say this, because my whole goal is to sell a book, because let's talk business, right? We all want to make money. We're not, you know, it's not a hobby. I feed my family with this business. So I need to sell an album. I need to upsell an album. So I'm already talking about it on our first call. I already know what kind of images are going to go in this book. Yes, of course, they're going to select some of their favorites. But when I'm shooting, I'm also keeping in mind, like, okay, I need to get some of these horizontals. I need to get some of these verticals, because I already know what's going to go in the album.
Right. You stole my question.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll let it slide this time.
Yes, go ahead. What was your question?
No, I was just going to ask you how you shoot for an album, because I know that that's very important. I mean, yes, you need the quantity, but you also need variety.
Yes, variety is super important.
Absolutely. So this is the album that you just saw created this morning, and this is a premium navy leather cover, and Lori, our fantastic team member, crafted the cover. You saw the full hide, all the things. So tell us a little bit about the creation of this, and I think it's also important to note that you take this way beyond just looking at images and kind of dragging and dropping them. You're crafting, and you're taking into consideration color theory and breaks for the eye. Like, let's talk in depth about that, because I love that.
Yes. So an album is also, it's not just, you know, pictures thrown into a book. It's really important to have a start and a finish. You need a really great, impactful image to begin with, something like a boom to start the story. And then it has to flow, because your eye travels from page to page. Just like in photography, we learn about negative space for the actual picture. We need to understand the negative space in the album design itself. Your eye needs to be able to have a break, to breathe, to relax, and then move on to the next thing. If we may pause for just 1 second, one of my biggest pet peeves, and I don't know if just photographers just don't know this, but I've noticed, I go to my friends' houses and they'll have an album, and you know, like an album of their baby's newborn book, and the baby's face will be right here, and the break will be right in the middle of their face. that just drives me crazy. Flip an image or move that face on this side of the album and have something else here. It's really important to understand how your eye moves throughout the page. Like for example, she's looking in that direction, so I'm gonna start here and then move back here, and then she's kind of, her body language is focusing in this direction, so then your eye is gonna go here. These things, these elements are super important to an album design and to have a higher quality in your final product, and maybe the client won't really know why it's good, but it's still gonna look amazing. And also, I don't know if this is not the last page, but also having something really of a wow image at the end as well.
I'm gonna get to that for you.
Yes. So yeah, things like that, those kinds of elements, it's very similar to here. Again, your eye kind of moves around. So I would never put this image on this side because again, it would cut right down her face. Never cut someone's face in half. Maybe at the neck or at the feet, but never in the middle of the face.
So what you're talking about composition-wise then, Anya, is not only the composition of the image itself.
Yes.
But the composition of the overall flow in making sure that the images that are next to each other on the page or using one image and negative space,
yes,
you are balancing for the reader or the viewer to really enjoy the experience
yes.
of paging through.
It's all about that experience,
it is,
right?
It is.
And I also know you asked about color theory and choices for our albums, and that also comes from your initial consultation, especially if you're on a Zoom call and if the client happened to be in their home. You can be like, hey, are you in your living room right now? Are you in your bedroom? Where do you think you're going to display your album? And pay attention to the colors in their house. Maybe it's more of a neutral tone, or maybe you remember that they have a lot of blues or whatever colors in their house. So then you can help them pick a color that would look really great in their living room or bedroom or wherever it may be. So all those things are really important towards the final product.
Yeah, and something I do want to point out right along that line too is you were talking about your curated sample box that you have at the studio.
Yes.
So how do your curated product options speak to your brand? Because what you just said, you're respecting and you're paying attention to the environment that your clients are in, but you're also staying within your brand tolerance.
Yes, so the colors, I got the box of all the swatches and all the samples from the albums, and then I picked out the ones that would speak true to my brand, higher end quality premium leathers. So we offered the premium leather and the distressed leather at my studio. And I only picked 4 colors because the more options we have, the more confusing it is to make a decision. And clients tend to be very indecisive. So I just go, textured leather or distressed? And they're like, okay, distressed. I'm like, okay, well, these are the 3 or 4 options that we have, because your brain goes 1, 2, 3, many, and then it's like, oh, I don't know, I can't decide. And I offer just, 2 fonts, and it's like, okay, you want black or do you want white? And keeping it simple. And the colors that I picked are pretty standard to my brand as well. So everything kind of falls in line with brand identity.
Yeah, I love that 1, 2, 3, many. That's awesome.
That Tony Robbins says that all the time.
And when I Googled Tony Robbins, now I get a lot of Tony Robbins stuff.
Yes,
but,
yes.
You may not know this about me, but I'm a car guy, and I talk about cars a lot. And I think about the buying environment that you are creating versus like experiences when you go into like a high-end car dealership or a clothing store or a restaurant. They keep it very simple and very focused. Visually, on a price menu, options, all those things. It's very easy to be like, yes, I like this one, instead of saying, here's 47 options.
Yes.
And then you just shut down.
Yeah.
Exactly. One thing I do want to point out here before we go, so when we were out on the floor today, you were like, I know that I have this really cool
Oh, yes.
custom die on file here, and I know it's going to be hard to zoom in on and see because we wanted this to be very, very subtle, but this actually has your logo debossed into the back cover, and it's white on white. So you were like, I want it to be very subtle. I want it to be something that somebody actually has to maybe look for just a little bit instead of just standing out. And it's beautiful how you very respectfully added your signature to the album without being like, this is Anya.
Yeah, it's like,
exactly.
It's mine, it's my book. No, it's just, you kind of have to see it, but it's so beautifully done. It's very discreet, but it's really kind of, again, going to that brand, and it's not about me, it's not about my photos. It's just something for like, oh my God, I love these photos, you have to go to my photographer, but I forgot her name, but oh yeah, it was Anya, right? Like, so it's not like, oh, Anya did this, like, look at me. It's just for later. This is so soft.
It is. It just like you just want to touch it.
It's a baby.
Exactly.
And it smells so good because we just finished making this.
And I think it's good to know too that those custom dies, you can put them on the outside cover, but what we're really seeing that people are loving is to do it on that end sheet.
Yes.
And you can do it in white, you can do it in black, you can do it in silver, the foils, you can do it blind, all the things. And I love how you made it about the client instead of all about you, you know, which is fantastic. But this has been a great conversation.
Yes.
I love when I'm doing these and you forget about the cameras and the time just flies by. Like I'm looking, the clock has run out almost.
Oh, wow.
That time flew by, but we appreciate your energy, your warmth, your compassion. We're really looking forward to the rest of the day with you. Just to point out too real quick, so that image that you were talking about earlier, we're going to see that created into a premium gallery wrap this afternoon.
Oh, cool.
With the matte laminate, which is one of my favorites, and then a weathered gray float frame, and that is going to be absolutely gorgeous.
I'm so
when
excited.
It's all created. So thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. And if you are watching this on the rewind and you have any questions for Anya, make sure and put them into the comments, and we'll take a peek at those and we can have her answer those for you. She's a very nice lady. I'm sure you wouldn't mind answering a question.
Of course.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us. Just a reminder, make sure and hit the subscribe button on our WHCC YouTube. Follow along on Instagram at WHCC Pro. And for all of your product details, questions, options, all the great things, check out WHCC.com. I'm Matt. This is Anya. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.